Hakadosh Boker Tov, Ben Ish Chai, Parashat Shofetim. Says in the Peticha in the introduction, Ki tikra v'li lilachem alea v'karat alea l'shalom. When you're going to go to a city in order to fight, you always start with peace. And you don't just go and you start attacking. First you go in peace. Nireh li b'siyata d'shmaya, it appears to be b'siyata d'shmaya, d'adam nikra ir k'tana v'nashim me'at. We know that the human being is called a small city, and there's very few people there. Mosh k'du b'koelet, just like it's written in Koelet. הדבר ידוע and it's known שיצר הרע יתקרב יילחם באדם באיסור עריות יותר מכל איסורים. The יצר הרע will always fight against the human being in איסור עריות, with immorality, more than any other type of an איסור. Meaning immorality is the strongest thing, right, that a person will come and you'll have to fight. ואפילו חכם וצדיק שעוסק בתורה ימים ולילות. And even a חכם and a tzaddik that is learning Torah days, night, אינו יכול להכניע יצר רע. עד שיישא אישה, he cannot control the יצר רע of women until he gets married. Pok Chazi, look go out and look. Masha Ketuba Gemara Kedushin Kaptet Mbek Sheba Rav Amnuna Lifnei Rav Huna. That Rav Amnuna, he came in front of Rav Huna, right? It says over here he saw that he didn't have the sudan on his head. Remember, the talit on the head meant that you were married. Okay, so he asked him, "My tama, why don't you have it?" He said, "Sure, I didn't get married." So he went and he turned around from him. He turned his face from him. Yeah. So he comes and he says, because that was a sign of getting married. And that's why Ashkenazim until today, they only put the talit bichlal when they get married. But for Sfaradim, we put it on when we get married, but the talit on the head, technically speaking, was only when they get married, or in Morocco, it was when they had semicha. If they didn't have semicha, they wouldn't put the talit on their head. That was the sign of giving semicha. They would come and they would put the talit on their head. That's how they would give the semicha. That's just brought down in the Magen Avot and other places. So Amarlo, he told him, he says, he went and he told him, that I'm not going to come and I'm not going to see you until you get married. But says Rav Huna, anybody that doesn't get married, he will always have sinful thoughts. So therefore, that's why he says, and therefore, so if somebody wants to fight against Yitzhara, you cannot until you get married. That's what it means. When you're going to go to the city, which is the guf shelcha, which is called the id lilachem, to fight with the Yitzhara, that you don't want the Yitzhara to destroy the city. Before doing anything, you have to go to the mitzvah of nisuin. That you should have somebody that's going to help you when more than all the mitzvot. As we know that which Chazal actually said, a person without a woman, he doesn't have shalom. You should know that your tent is in peace. I don't have shalom in my bones because of my sins. Lashon chisaron, that he's lacking. There's a man without a woman is only a half of a body. So he's lacking half of the body. And that's what it means in this week's Parashat to do with getting married. So this is the hint of marriage. Beautiful. I just had a Shabbat Brachot this week. If I would have read the Ben Ish Chai beforehand, I would have mentioned this. Yeah, fine. Says Halacha number 1, Kol HaKodem Nisa Isha Techef Umiyad Achar Shenasa Bar Mitzvah, Harei Ze Meshubach. Yeah? Your son is already Bar Mitzvah, no? Yeah? Okay, very good. So he says anybody that's going to come and he's going to get married immediately, right after Bar Mitzvah, is praiseworthy. Amru Gemara, because the Gemara says Kiddushin Kaftet Amubet. Amar Rav Chasta, says Rav Chasta, Hayda Adifna Mechavra, why am I better than my friends? Mishud Nasivna B'Shitza, because I got married at 16. If I would have got married at 14, I would have thought to say that I'm putting arrows in the eyes of the Satan, but rather it's the opposite. What does that mean? That you see from here that it would have even been better if he would have got married at 14. And therefore, you should always be very quick. But before 14, that you're still not old enough, it's not good to get married. Why? Because you're too young. Okay? Now, you really need to do it early. So look into to do with the ketubah. Halacha bet. Just like you make a beracha before you're eating. You want to have a drink, orange juice, you make shakol. You want to have a croissant, you're going to make mezonot. So too, that's why you have to make a beracha on the blessing on the woman right before Erusin. That's why the rabbis instituted the beracha bikat Erusin. Mishurat adin and Mishurat adin mikatcha al yedei atzmo. If he's making the kiddushin between him and himself, hu yevarech. He's going to make the beracha. But if it's going to be through a shaliach, the shaliach should do it bimkomo. Yivarech Hashem bimkomo. אך נהגו בכמה מקומות, the minhag is already שאין החתן מברך אלא מסדר קידושין מברך, that it's not the חתן anymore, but rather מסדר קידושין, כדי שיתבייש מי שלא יודע לברך. In order not to embarrass somebody that doesn't know how to make a ברכה. נמצא, so it comes out, הברכה דמברך האחר, הוא כדי להוציא את החתן ידי חובה. So now, if the מסדר קידושין is making the ברכה, it's to be מוציא את החתן ידי חובה. But it's really on him to make the ברכה. לכן, and therefore, יזהר מברך לכוון להוציא את החתן ידי חובה. He has to have in mind to be מוציא ידי חובה, the חתן. וגם החתן ייתן דתו לטבע הברכה. And also the חתן has to pay attention, שמתכוון לצאת לחובה. He has to have כוונה to be יצא לחובה. טוב להזהיר גם לכלה. You should even tell the כלה to have in mind, ותשמע ברכה, והתכוון המברך גם עליה, that it's also on her. האם גם בית שמואל, ונודע ביהודה מנעו את עניין באבן עזר סימן א', ועוד האחרונים שכתוב בזה מול דת הרמב"ם, however, though according to שיטת הרמב"ם, אם לא כיוון המברך להוציא ידי חובה ולא כיוון החתן לצאת לחובה, if they didn't have in mind, it's a ברכה לבטלה. Right? Because basically there's a machlokat rishonim, is a birkat mitzvot, and just like you make before you make a mitzvah, you're going to make a bracha, or is it birkat shevach, you're just praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But and nevertheless, it's not considered birkat ne'anin according to everybody, because even after the bracha, you're still not allowed to taste the kala. You're not allowed to eat the kala. You have to wait until after marriage. That's when you. So even according to everybody, it's not birkat ne'anin. There's three types of brachot. Birkat ne'anin, bracha before I'm going to benefit from something. I'm going to smell something. Birkat ne'anin. I'm going to eat something. Birkat ne'anin. Birkat shevach. Shevach is I'm praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu. A lot of the birkat shachar, a lot of is praises of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then there's birkat mitzvot. I'm going to make a lulav, shofar, megillah. Those are birkat mitzvot, bracha mitzvah. So what is the bracha of the irusin, the kiddushin? What bracha is that? Is that birkat shevach or birkat mitzvot? For sure, it's not birkat hane'anim, right? That's for sure not. But it's a machloka between the rishonim, and the nafkamina will be is who makes the bracha? Is it the chatan or the greatest person that's there? Because if it's going to be birkat shevach, so therefore it's better that the rabbi should do it and not the person that's doing the mitzvah. But if it's because of mitzvah, so it's better that he himself should do it and not anybody else. Now, when we said once again, now if you're going to tell me now b'rachal v'tala, that's why he says that you have to tell the chatan to be tzedek chova. According to Shitat Rambam Shulchan Aruch, is birkat mitzvot, right? Shemavret kol she'oseh maaseh kiddushin. Meikar adin, it's on the chatan. Because if it's birkat mitzvot, you're doing the mitzvah. If you put on tefillin, I shouldn't make the bracha for you. It could be that maybe the other guy is much greater than you are. It doesn't matter. You're doing the mitzvah, you do it. But if it's going to be kata shevach to praise Hashem, you give it to the person that's much greater. So praising, yes, you give it to him. But on kata mitzvah, you do it yourself. So according to Maran, it's better that the chatan himself does it. And that's why there are mazuz, and there are certain people, chatan himself does the berachot. However, though, right, they have to pay attention. It's also important that you should tell the kala to pay attention to the Rebbe Geffen that you've seen, right? Why? Because if not, you have a problem. But she's going to drink also. But then he brings out here, put yourself that you should warn them not to do Baruch Hu Shemo, but B'diavad, even if they answered, it's going to be okay. Obviously, the Moroccan minhag is that they do answer Baruch Hu Shemo, even though they are being Yotzei Chovah from the bracha, and that's also the famous Baba Sali. Okay, and then after the bracha, the marech has to drink a little bit, and then afterwards they give to the chatan and the kala to drink. But after Sheva Brachot, nobody has to drink other than the chatan and the kala, but Yirei Shamayim will also drink a little bit from the Sheva Brachot as well. Okay. Now, even though the Rav Be'er Sheva brought out another reason, you should not be Birkat Sheva Vodal Kedushatan Shel Yisrael, right? Which means that on the Kedusha of Yisrael, according to this, even if you didn't have the Chatan did not have Kavanah, right? You still have to be Choshesh for the Poskim. The reason is the first reason, as we mentioned before, right? Not because of the Shevach and Hodam Kedushat of Yisrael, but rather because of the whether it's going to be not Birkat Hanenim, but rather Birkat Shevach or Birkat Mitzvot that a person's having it. Umagam the Ledat of Yetuda Rambam. Right, you're obligated to come and to have this in mind. What was the question? Halacha Gimel. Yeah, Halacha Gimel says Nagula astir birkat erusin al yain. So they had the minhag to do the seder of birkat erusin on the wine. K'men she'beracha shel simcha, but it's a simcha, and then you make a Rebbe Geffen, and then afterwards you make birkat erusin. Now, if you can't find wine, you should make birkat erusin without the wine, and you finish off with birkat erusin. Amkadesh amo yisrael chuppah b'kiddushin, and that's a nusach hamiti. Okay, chuppah b'kiddushin with a bet. Okay, he says over here, and that they should say with a bet, bekidushin, like vikidushin, with a bet v'refuaya. And now, even if you say with a vav, you also have water line. So basically, whichever one that you say with a vav or a bet, you have water line. It sounds the same, exactly, but it's just that there's going to be a difference in the explanation. Right? So he says, with a vav. That's also what Maran holds down. If they have a minhag, then they say don't annul the minhag, but they have water line. Why do we say here vitil lanu and sunot lanu? What does that mean? We're making a bracha to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that He permitted to us that which is permitted to us. What's going on? Vitil lanu, it's the ones which are married to us. Now, אף אגב דמרן זה לא כתב כמה מרן דברים מסתם שולחנות אור, מכל מקום לשון זה הוא מדוקדק וברור יותר, but it's very very מדויק, just like the גאון בית חדש, the Bach says, שאם אינו אומר, וזה doesn't say נשוא לנו, but he just says סתם, it's משמע that he permitted us, other married women with חופה וקידושין. So imagine, you can do חופה וקידושין to a married woman, and now it's permitted to you. So no, it's לנו את הנשוא לנו, only those which are married to us. לכן, and therefore, עדיף תפי לומר, it's better to say נשוא לנו. And that's also the minhag here in Baghdad. And that which says, Vasalanu et arusot, the kavanah is that even the arusot in the su, they're still permitted to be the rabbanan until they have the chuppah. Okay, now he says, but the avad, if you didn't say lanu, you don't bring them back. Halakha hey, after the bracha and timat kos, you show the chatan, the kesef kiddushin, right? The chatan is going to show the kesef kiddushin to the edim, in order that they should know that it's shaveh pruta. And the edim have to look at it and see the actual giving over of the money, because we're going to the kala. Because only through their seeing is she mekudeshet. And you know, by the way, this is very, very powerful, because many times there's a few things. First of all, many times we have to tell the kala, look at the chatan, and the chatan look at the kala. Why? She's looking at pictures, or she's daydreaming. Somebody's getting married to you. Pay attention. You need your dot. We have to make sure. That's number one. Number two, a lot of times they come and say, pictures. They move everybody, and they make sure that the camera could see. But what do I care if the camera could see? If the edim did not see the giving over of the ring, there's no marriage. So that's why I always make sure that the edim are the most important to see. You want pictures, that's fine. But it's more important that the witnesses see, not that you're married, that you have pictures of marriage and you're not married. You understand? Very, very important. Okay? You have to warn the kala that she should look at the face of the chatan that's getting married to her. And to pay attention. And she's accepting it for kiddushin. Because there's kalot that they're very baishaniot, right? They're almost going to faint. She has no idea what the chatan is even telling her, right? So therefore you have to be careful with this. So the Ben Ish Chai telling you this. It's not us. Some people say, oh, look at this rabbi. He's coming here. No, the Ben Ish Chai is telling you. Tell the kalot to pay attention. They have to pay attention. Halakha Vav. He's first going to say, and then afterwards he gives the kesef kiddushin, right? Why? Because if he says nowadays we do it with tabat and not with kesef, and there's a reason it's brought down in Halakha Chet, okay? But he says, but you can't give it to her and then you say because then it's mekadesh b'malve, right? So therefore it's very, very important. So he says, and if you did give it to her, so you have to take back the tabat, and then you have to say the nusach, and then afterwards you have to give it again. It's brought down in the Nusach. Meaning a person came and he said, okay, fine, boom, he puts it on her finger. And he says, take it back, and now you have to do it again. Even though some people say that he has to acquire it again, it's not that simple. So it becomes balagan. Okay? But he should not, now he says, that what you said, Kidat Moshe Yisrael, the Kavanah is, the Chol Shemekadesh, anybody that gets married, that the Darba Mekadesh. The Hainu al Dat Sheniyu Chazal Yisrael Mekachada. He's doing it al Pi, the way the Bnei Yisrael do it. Shir Kedushin Kaimini Fnei Chazal, that it should be according to the rabbis, Yubetalin Fnei Chazal, and it should also be batel through the words of the rabbis, Al Yidei Gitin Shesidu Chazal, through a get. Zayin, Yiten Kes Kedushin Biyamin Didei, Liyamin Shelah. When he's giving over the ring or the Kiddushin, he's doing it from his right hand to her right hand. And the minhag over here is that when she's doing it with Kesef Zahav, that she puts like a glove or like a type of a thing, and she's accepting it in her hand. That she's accepting the Kesef Kiddushia, right, with kavod. Just like that, she has the mapa on the shulchan. When you put the bread for lechem mishneh, that is not, she's not an aniyah that she's getting the tzedakah biyada. To be makpid mishum chatzitza. So he says, but that's a chatzitza. If she's now going to wear gloves, and now it's not really a glove, but it's like a mitpachat, whatever, and then he puts it in the mitpachat, so then that's a chatzitza. So in my book, right, I explained it. Some people have a minhag of getting married with 3 coins of zahav, kesef, v'nechosh, of gold, silver, and copper. But the mitzvah is to do the tabat of kesef, of silver. There's a remez nachon in a tabat, in a ring, just like a bratan misivri hakadosh v'kavtzel. Pi masham Rabbeinu Rizal, the sharta amem mitzvah parshas kitzeda. Yidei kiddushin was when a person comes and he does kiddushin, shadam mekadesh lishto, that he comes and he sanctifies his wife. To her, one of his ruchot go to her. So now it's like surrounding him, right? And that's why, by the way, after 120, if he passes away, there's a tikkun al-mana. The tikkun is to get rid of that ruach from the woman. because if not, then the spirit is still with her, and then it will stop her, whether it's from getting married or even, there's a whole bunch of things there. I mean, rucha delay. Then afterwards he has relations with her. Then he gives her another ruach, which is besod or pnimi begava mikoach rucha delay. First you have to do the kiddushin. But first you need the ora makif, which is the outer, right, or the outer light, if you want to call it, or energy. And then afterwards it's the ruach hapnimi. Well, according to this, the tabat goes around the finger. There's a remez nachon leora makif, which is giving out through the kiddushin, and therefore the tabat to mitzvah muchav. Minagenu lechkok al tabat surat hey. So our minhag is to put the letter hey on the tabat, and it's a good minhag. But there's still a minhag to do it with also kids of zahav. And if you do it with the tabat, then we don't do the mitpachat. So therefore it's better to do the tabat. Because if you're doing it with a tabat, and therefore you're not going to put any type of mitpachat on the hand, there's no chatzitza according to everybody, then it's even better. So therefore you do it directly on the finger. Tet, when you take it, do it with a tabat. You should put it in the third finger, which is called the amah. However, though, in the amah, this is the amah, the middle finger. But he says over here, but however, though, our minhag is to put in the tabat etzva, which is this finger, right? Which is called etzva stam. And this is even good according to the so the one of the chatan, which is Hashemayim Sabrin Kevod, right? So he says Shesham Niskera Chupat HaChatan. But that's where it's mentioned. Right? So there it's written V'ukach Chatan Yosef Bechoto. Yesh Chamisha Psukim. There's 5 psukim. Asher Tiva Shniya Shelaim Yishem Aviyad. The second word is the name of Hashem. And that's Torat Hashem Tigma Edut Hashem Ne'emana B'Yam. Pikudei Hashem Yeshem Mitzvat Hashem Yirat Hashem. So that's the second one. So since the second word, right? So too, the second finger is the etzva, so therefore that's where you put the ring. And we're going to start from the gadol. So then it's going to come, right? Then it's going to come on the gudal, right? The etzva, which is close to the gudal. Now we know that when a person gets married, they're miyached the name of Hashem, Yud K, together. So therefore that's a tabat atzma, keneged yod, right? So therefore the tabat itself is the yod. V'yad hachatan, right, the hand of the chatan shetofsa bechamesh esbeot that has the 5 fingers is connected the first hey of the yud hey, right? The etzba kala, the finger of a kala is the vav, is 6. The ayad shela, and her hand that she's poshetet lekabel kedushin is connected hey acharona. Moshe Neymar, just like it says in the pasuk matzai sham atztov yafek ratzon Hashem. So now you understand. You have the yod, which is again the yod is the actual ring. The ring is the tabat is yod. Okay, then he comes and he says,
what is the tabat yod?
He comes and he says, and therefore, you have Yud Kevavke, so you put a rabbit on the finger, Shu Keneged Shemaviyah, Veshamati Shegami Vekodesh Yerushalayim, you have the minhag of putting it also on this finger. So that means even though this is not the ring finger, because obviously they're going to put it later on, but it should be on this finger. If they did not make Birkat Irusin during the time of the Kiddushin, so they can't make it in the suite. Some people say, that means some people say that you could. Nevertheless, you have to teach the Chatan, so he has to do it during the time of the chuppah without Shem Nafut. A person should be very careful not to do Erusin without bracha. It's once in his lifetime. That he shouldn't waste it. ונזהר תבוא עליו ברכת טוב. הלכה י"א, אחר הקידושין, after the קידושין, שובר החתן כוס אחת לזיכרון ירושלים. He's going to break a cup for the כוס of ירושלים. Did you realize what happened? Here it says it's after the קידושין. This was, by the way, the minhag in Gibraltar. The minhag in Gibraltar was that they used to break the cup after the קידושין, not after Sheva Berachot. Here in the footnote that Rabbi Yosef brings down, minhag Eretz Yisrael is the Chatan is going to break it after Sheva Berachot of Nisuin. But here the Ben Ish Chai says the minhag was to do it after Kiddushin, not after Nisuin. Okay? So it's good that he should say Elet Yerushalayim al Rosh Simchati. So we have a minhag of doing a small cup. מאלו הכוסות ששותים בהם קווה, whatever it is. So basically they use like some small cups. והוא חרס מצופה אבן נקי וטוב, שקוראים פורפי, this is something that, you know, it's called porcelain. ולא נהגו לשבר כוס זכוכית, but that means they don't break glass, they break porcelain. ייתכן מצמת שהוא ביוקר, maybe it's because it's much more expensive. יותר הכוס הזה של פפרי. או ייתכן, or maybe it's because they're חוששים תקלה, because maybe they're going to break into a lot of different pieces. There's a כוס שוברו בגובו של קוטו, they're breaking on the top, and then it comes out that all these things fall on the ground. ברמה בדקה מה שברינג זן, החתם משפק כוס שמלכים אליו ברכת אלוסין, לכן נהגו לברך ברכת אלוסין כוס של חרס. So the רמה brings down to do כוס של חרס. And by the way, did you realize he said that the Khatan is breaking the cup that they made on the Birkat Elusin? That means the same cup that they just used for the Elusin, that's what they're breaking. So he says, Rama brought down Cheres and Ozefrit. גם בדבריו יש לו שני תמים נזכרים, וגם משבצות זהב ונשום, צריך זכוכית, you have to do glass דווקא. כתבתם על זה בשם מערימת, ורומזים בזה זכוכית שיש לו תקנה אחת נשבע. No. Glass, you could break it, then you could put it back together. Cheres, no. Once, כחרס הנשבע. Many times we say, that's like cheres which is broken. Why? You can't fix it again afterwards. Cheres, earthenware, once it's broken, we're broken. Kaddish, right? But glass, you could break it and then put it back together. Okay, so he says, שיחזרו ויתקנו אותו, מה שאין כן חרס. והאם מועל לכל חי לא כבחיים פלט, שדרך שיהיה מנהג אלינו בכלי חרס ובפולה של גרם העולם ז"ל, ואין לשנות. So don't change our מנהג. המנהג הוא כך, תאם מהרסים קודם החופה, if they do מהרסים before the חופה, וכמה ימים, a few days, so they make ברכת הנוסין על הכוס, and then afterwards, he's going to drink it, he comes and he puts it into a smaller cup, and then they come and they put it from the kos katan to the kala, and then the katan will take this small kos, and he will break it on the wall. You will see the kiddushin b'shat chuppah. Interesting that it's breaking it on the wall, not on the floor. Gam ken yaseh kacha. He's going to do this. And then afterwards, yaviu kos yain sheni. They're going to bring a second cup, and then they're going to say shalom b'rachot b'chuppah, and he's not going to break another cup. But if he did it a few days beforehand without a kos, so then when they're doing the chuppah, they're making the b'rachot, they're going to pour it into a smaller cup, and then afterwards the kala will drink from it, and afterwards the chatan will come and take the small cup and he'll break it. Yud bet. Asru chazal leish lavo lelusa. A man is not allowed to have relations with his zarusa, with his engaged wife, before going into the chuppah. וכתב רמה ז"ל באגס, ורמה brings down the רמה, כמנהג הפשוט עכשיו לקרוא את החופה למקום שפורצים ניגש. So the minhag הפשוט is, what is a chuppah? The place where they put the canopy, right? Or talit, that they put a talit on top of these klonusin, on top of these poles. מכניסים תחתיה החתן והכלה ברבים, and then they put the חתן והכלה ברבים, מקדשן, he gets married to her, מברכים שם מקת עושים לקת הנישואין, they make מקת עושים לנישואין, ואחר כך, and afterwards, מוליכים אותן לביתם, they go to their houses, ואוכלים יחד החתן והכלה במקום צנוע, they eat in a certain place, וזו חופה נהוגה עכשיו, that is a חופה nowadays. ובקודש ירושלים, תבנים ודקונים ממנהג ימינו, המנהג שהחתן לובש טלית מצויצת כהלכתה ברכת הנישואין, מנהג זה, he puts on a talit, and then afterwards, before ברכת הנישואין, they put a talit on the ראש הכלה, and then it's going to be on both of them together. And that is a chuppah. You see, but that was Minhag Yerushalayim. That wasn't Minhag Baghdad. Meaning the Minhag of Baghdad was like Morocco. Morocco, we never put the talit on top of the Khatan and Kala together. It was always like on the thing, but it wasn't, this is Minhag Yerushalayim. Poirenu Baghdad, Minhag Bifros Vilon Keneged HaKala, B'shat Sheva Brachot Shel Nisim V'Rechim HaKam B'Gvansim, V'zeh Vilon Korin Oto B'Aravit Kidir. So they put like a curtain. Ufros B'Mechitza Keneged HaKala B'no V'en HaChatan V'Varech. So they're making it between her and the Khatan and Varech. ונוהגים ללבוש טלית, and they don't put a טלית at all. ואפשר הטעם, so why don't they have the טלית? כי פה מדינו עושים החופה בשם הלוחות אחר ערבית ובזידור at night time, after שקיעת החמה, or after the שקיעה, או על חשכה ממש, and therefore you're not going to put a טלית during the time. וזה הווילון, סימן החופה אצלנו. לכל דברים שעושים בשעת החופה אינם אלא סימן, so it's only a סימן, דעו שנראה ממנו שמייחס להכניסה לביתו, that is separating her, right, that it's going to be his wife. ואצלנו פריסת הווילון קוראים בערבי כידור, הוא סימן לדבר זה. וקודם כמה שנים חידיר? חידיר, אוקיי. וקודם כמה שנים ביטלנו זה הווילון, we already annulled it, ועשינו כמו 4 עמודים שפרוס עליהם בגד. No, we put the 4 different poles, and then we put the beged on top. כאוהל הפרוס על 4 קונדסים. אני חתן וקלה ביחד תחתיו, we put it בחתן וקלה together there, ואחר נקלקל זה המנהג, וחזרנו להזירם, and then we put them again, to what? To do הווילון כמנהג הקודם. י' ג' נוהגים שהחתן מתענה יום שנכנס לו לחופה. וואו. So they had a minhag that they would actually do a ta'anit. It says here that Rab minhag Sfaradim they don't do it because it's a Yom Tov. And also בבני בבל שנהגו במקום השחתם וגם מתענים כשבאו לישראל צריכים לנהוג כמנהג המקום that they don't do ta'anit. That's what it says here. Rav Ovadia argues. Rav Ovadia in Halachot Olam he says that they don't do ta'anit on the day of the wedding. Right? So according to Ben Ishchai, he says, since he's going to become forgiven, it's so you have zechut of the tanit. Also, he's going to be with a broken heart. He's going to do teshuvah. A lot of people do it. But the kalot, they don't have this minhag. No kala did it. I asked Rabbi Sayag at the time, right? I just asked him, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. I asked him, he told me that in Morocco, no chatan ever fasted. And the reason why is because what he just said here, what Rabbi says. It was a day of Yom Tov. Tanit is like an avelut. Well, yeah, this is the happiest day of your life. You're going to start doing Tanit. And because of that also, they wouldn't do the tefillah of Kippur Katan. Do you know that a lot of people, they have the minhag that they do of Erev Kippur, the Tanit, the Amidah of Erev Kippur. So he says, so he told me they would never do that in Morocco. So now it makes sense that so in Baghdad, they would do it. But in Morocco, they wouldn't do it. And also the Halachot Olam, the Rabbi Vadia, he also says they would not do it. You need 10 people. But the Avad, even if you don't have 10 people, it's going to be good to do it without 10 people. You need 10 people. It's not going to be permitted even b'diavad. What happens if you don't have 10 people in the entire country? You can't go to another place. You could rely upon the lenient opinion, and you just make the beracha Hashem bara. However, though, if after the wedding, they come to another place, they should go to a chuppah of another city. They have mind for themselves as well. So therefore, obviously, we're talking about, right, the different things. So obviously, again, this, by the way, happened during the Corona. During the Corona, I still remember there was a rabbi that went and said, no, we'll get a few people and we make the Khatam Kala. We make the wedding. I went in and said, Mufurash. This is actually Mufurash Manad. Irusin does not need 10 people, but Nisuin does not need 10 people. So what are you talking about? If you want to have a marriage, even during the time of the Corona, you would need 10 men. You would need a minyan of 10 people in order to get married. Okay, this is